So there was a tweet that was sent out. It was Goetzel on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, but dailyfaceoff.com posted it, and it read, "I'm sorry, but no team in the NHL has a better Mount Rushmore of legends than the Pittsburgh Penguins." And in the picture, it was Jagr, Lemieux, Sid, and Malkin. And immediately sent it to you because I'm going, I'm sure there's a team or two that may have an equal or might be better. Now you can debate it, and that's the beautiful thing with this because it's one person's opinion and it was thrown out there. So I give you the floor. Do you agree with that, or do you have one of your own?
Well, of course I have one of my own. I mean, I'm a Habs fan. I grew up a Habs fan. And the thing that I mean, I didn't get into any kind of war of words with the guy because he was having enough of them with other people. But I did say the Montreal Canadiens would like a word. And okay, let's look at Crosby, Jagr, Lemieux, and Malkin here. And they do have wonderful resumes. It's true. Crosby, 3 Stanley Cups, 2 Olympic gold medals, a World Cup, two-time Art Ross winner, two-time Hart Trophy winner, three-time Pearson winner, two-time Rocket Richard winner, two-time Conn Smythe winner, 8-time All-Star. Jaromir Jagr, 2 Stanley Cups, five-time Art Ross winner, 88 or 98, 99 Hart, two-time Pearson as a Penguin, second on the NHL points list, 8-time All-Star. Mario Lemieux, Hall of Fame, 1997, 2 Stanley Cups, 9-time All-Star, 6-time Art Ross, 3-time Hart, 4-time Pearson, 2-time Conn Smythe winner, 10 seasons of 100 points or more. Malkin, 3 Stanley Cups, 3-time All-Star, 06-07 Calder, 2-time Art Ross, 08-09 Conn Smythe, 11-12 Hart Trophy, and Pearson winner. Wonderful, wonderful things. I mean, this is very, very formidable. This is a wonderful Mount Rushmore of players for a team. And I don't have anything bad. I'm not going to say anything bad about these guys because there's nothing bad you can say about these 4 guys. But I just went through and I picked out 4 guys at random from the Montreal Canadiens, and I could pick 4 more, and I could pick 4 more that would be very, very similar. I mean, I didn't even pick goalies. Maurice Richard, 18-year career, Hall of Fame, 1961. His number 9 is retired. 50 goals in 50 games. They only played 50 games in 1944-45, and he scored 50 goals, the first guy to do it. 544 total goals. He led NHL in goal scoring 5 times, all-time leader in goals when he retired in the NHL. There's a trophy named after him that somebody else won on the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's named after Rocket Richard. 82 playoff goals, which was a record, I think, which I believe may have been broken. But and the playoffs were just 2 rounds back then, so it took him a long time to amass those 82 goals. 8 Stanley Cups, a Hart Trophy in 1947. In 1944, he scored all 5 goals in a 5-1 win against Toronto, was named all 3 stars. And getting more to what's really important, he's a social and societal icon in Quebec. He held 20 records in the NHL at the time of his retirements. When he died in 2000, he had a state funeral, the first ever for a Canadian athlete. Jean Beliveau, 21-year career. 1972, he was inducted in the Hall of Fame. Number 4 is retired, a 10-time All-Star. Led the NHL in goal scoring twice, points once, 2 Hart trophies, a Conn Smythe trophy, the very first Conn Smythe trophy, 10 Stanley Cups, 5 as a captain, 507 goals, all as a Canadian. Third most in team history. Most playoff points, most playoff assists in Montreal Canadiens history. One of the best playmakers in NHL history. Doug Harvey, number 2 is retired. One of the best defensemen in history. 7 Norris trophies. Inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1973, an 11-time All-Star. And he was the first offensive defenseman. He was the quarterback on their power play. Back then on their power play, they had Harvey and Geoffrion on the points. They had Beliveau, Rocket Richard, and Bert Olmsted as their power play. The league changed the rules about power plays. Guys used to serve the entire 2 minutes back then. But because of Montreal's power play, they said, okay, we're going to let him out after you guys score your first goal. Okay, there we go. Serge Savard credited Doug Harvey for his spinorama move. 6-time Stanley Cup winner in Montreal. His style opened the door for Bobby Orr to revolutionize defensive play by defensemen. Joined Ted Lindsay in an attempt to start the NHLPA and then was subsequently traded to the Rangers. If anybody was a problem on your team, we dumped them on the Rangers. You go to the Rangers now. At the end of his life, it was sad. Alcohol, bipolar disorder. He ended up living at Connaught Park, the horse race track outside on the Quebec side of Ottawa in Aylmer, and he lived in the railway car that was out front. That's where he lived. That was kind of sad, but that's Doug Harvey. Guy Lafleur, Hall of Fame 1988, 5 Stanley Cups. His number 10 is retired. Most points of any player in Montreal Canadiens history, most assists as well. Scored 50 goals 6 years in a row, 2 Hart trophies, 3 Art Ross trophies, a Conn Smythe. After he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, then he played for the Rangers and Quebec after that. All 4 Montreal guys were in the top 100 of all time as named by the NHL in 2017. I didn't even think about talking about goalies. But if you want to talk about the top 4 goalies Montreal has had, Jacques Plante, Patrick Roy, Ken Dryden, Carey Price, and you can go on from there. The Vezina Trophy is named after a Montreal Canadiens goalie. You know, my God.
I love fired up Howie Mooney.
And then we can go on. Let's just count Stanley Cups, guys with Stanley Cups. Yvan Cournoyer, Henry Richard, double digits. Let's just, okay, let's.
So what you're saying is you don't agree with his opinion that Pittsburgh has the greatest Mount Rushmore. I'll be honest. I think you could go through the original 6. Some of those
absolutely
teams would rival, or also it depends on how you look at it. And obviously we don't have him on the show, so I don't want to ridicule him. I understand where he's coming from, because when you think about it, Mario Lemieux is a top 5 player of all time. Sid's good. Well, there's an argument. It could be, they could have 2 top 5 players of all time. Jagr's an interesting case because people tend to forget how great he was later in his career. He had that lull in Washington, but then, once he came back from the KHL, he was excellent again with the Rangers and finished, and obviously longevity has a lot to do with it. Malkin, another enigma. He's still an unbelievable player. But as you pointed out, is he better than any of those players? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And what struck me at the end of it all, between the 4 guys on Pittsburgh, they have 10 Stanley Cups, which is nice.
Yes.
Jean Beliveau has 10 Stanley Cups. Right. Maurice Richard has 8. Yeah. The lowest guy on my little Montreal totem pole there was Lafleur with 5.
The argument is, Howie, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. I agree with you. I think Montreal has a much better Mount Rushmore. I'm playing the devil's advocate of potentially what this person is, a younger person, and is focused on, well, look what they've done in the last 20, 25 years, of a body of work in an era where you have a cap, where it's difficult to win a cup and have a dynasty. In Pittsburgh, in this era, has had a couple of those little mini dynasties. That's why they're considered one of the best organizations in the National Hockey League. So, off the top of my head, and I was thinking as you're going through your list, I'm going, well, Boston would have a really good one.
Of course, yeah.
The Red Wings would have an amazing one. I'm thinking of a few where I'm going, I think and again, it's all subjective, but I think Pittsburgh's in the mix, but I certainly don't think they have the greatest Mount Rushmore. And obviously this is a Pittsburgh fan too, that pointed this, made this comment. So that's why I'm cutting a little bit of slack, but I think it's a great topic to talk about. And actually, I would love to actually break it down a little bit more down the road, because I actually think it is interesting to see who has the greatest 4 players in NHL history.